There's a story, it's 5 years old. It's from 2019. NBC Chicago did a story, and Tiff is apparently an awful landlord. She is just horrific. And we're going to go through that. You know, my point for bringing this up is that this kind of stuff was being done by Tiff well before she was elected to mayor of Dolton. So you guys knew what you were getting into. Those of you in Chicago, or you know, anybody in a position where you've got this elected official that's just going sideways. There were warning signs, is my bottom line. There were some massive warning signs, and they're not just small local. This was NBC Chicago covering this, a couple of stories. And that's what we're going to go through. We're also going to go through, I did a deep dive into the tax records. I went into Cook County Assessor's Office. We're going to take a look at some of that stuff too. And there's one document, you need to hang with me. There's one document that I can't figure out because it's basically hidden. And I believe an attorney basically wiped this document out. There's no name to it. Doesn't indicate what it is. Like if you were in Cook County, you'd be able to figure it out, but I'm not. So let's go ahead. We're going to watch a video. And to start off, this is one of the original news stories from November 11th of 2019. Let me get this teed up for you here.
Water leaks. Nearly 3 months ago, we first exposed serious problems in a South suburban rental home owned by a Dolton Village trustee.
Since then, the renter says it's only gotten worse. CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozloff has also learned that trustee is pocketing tens of thousands of your tax dollars for a house that's now unlivable.
You need to get your clothes out for school.
Jacqueline Smith and her 2 children called this hotel room home for almost a month. Ever since the Dolton house they were renting from village trustee Tiffany Henyard was slapped with this.
A big red sign that I cannot live there because it's unlivable.
Unlivable mostly because of mold.
All mold. Even growing on the bottom of the shoes is mold.
Mold that Smith's landlord, trustee Henyard, pledged to immediately clean up after we first reported on the problem in August.
And that's where it started.
Smith says workers came and painted. The house even passed a village inspection. Issues abated, notes Inspector Brian.
Okay, so I'm going to stop right here. Now, when you look through all of the timeline here, I mean, maybe this stuff was fixed. It probably wasn't. The wall issues in the laundry room were abated. Interior additional room where water was leaking in the back bathroom. The breaker box is no longer leaking. Breaker wall in the garage was repaired correctly as well. Upon the outdoor walk around, the roof on the house was repaired as well. Initial complaint was of several leaks and mold-like substances in several places of the property as well. This was dated 9/3, and the original complaint was August 21st. And there's no way you're getting all that work done. This was basically just rubber stamped.
Thigpen in this September report, except they weren't.
It's horrible.
Enter activist David Lowry, who called Dolton directly. Suddenly, the house deemed livable on September 3rd became unfit for occupancy on October 15th.
Shenanigans. You've got shenanigans. When Tiffany Henyard was a trustee, she was doing shenanigans, and she wasn't even the mayor. She was just getting a hall pass. Oh yeah, there's Tiff. Yeah, let's go ahead and give her a green light inspection. And then, oh good Lord, we got caught. We got to slap the old not approved for occupancy on this bad boy.
Lowry's theory?
The trustee used her power and influence.
We caught up with Henyard before last week's board meeting. I want to talk to you about that house on Dearborn. Can we do that?
My attorney's right here, so if you got any questions, I have legal counsel. Talk to my attorney.
So you want me to talk to your attorney and not you? You can't tell me how that house failed an inspection in October when it just passed it beforehand?
If you have any questions, talk to my attorney.
So we did.
The inspection process is within control of the village, not of the trustee. She has been instructed by the village attorney to be treated just like any other property owner.
Dalton's attorney says the house's inspection history is under investigation. And village records show a slew of past problems, with the house passing, then failing, then passing inspections for years, even before the Housing Authority of Cook County approved it as a rental property eligible for government housing assistance money, or Section 8. An HACC employee says as a landlord, Henyard's received $36,866 taxpayer dollars in Section 8 rent payments since 2017, when Smith moved in. Money that kept coming even after this foreclosure notice was filed against the house last year.
We were staying in a hotel, so.
All the while, Dalton taxpayers even helped foot the bill to keep Smith's family off the streets.
He thought that.
Okay, so let's go back to foreclosure notice. Foreclosure notice, right? Where was that? There it is. Gosh darn it. All right.
We're staying in a hotel.
So, okay, so the foreclosure notice, what I'm going to say about there, you don't get a foreclosure notice until you have stopped making payments on the home, right? Otherwise, there's no reason you get a foreclosure notice. So, Tiff is not paying the mortgage for who knows how long, and she's getting rent all this time. That's how that game is played, right? And eventually, I can't prove it, but I'll show you the timeline and I'll show you the deed that indicates it was sold at foreclosure. All right, let's keep going.
So.
All the while, Dalton taxpayers even helped foot the bill to keep Smith's family off the streets.
He thought that, the village should be compassionate. She had nowhere to go. She had children. What we thought was to actually bill Trustee Henyard.
I learned this afternoon that Jacqueline Smith and her kids are now staying with a friend. The village is no longer paying for the hotel, and she doesn't have the money. I'm still waiting on a list of any citations Trustee Henyard received because of that house. In the newsroom, Dana Kozlov, CBS 2 News.
All right, Dana will not.
Yeah, okay, so that's so there was another story prior to that, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at that right now. Let's move on here. Off, get into, actually, you know what? Let's, we've got another YouTuber here and she's got some really good footage. Let's take a peek at 3:30 and then we'll get into the story. Since we're doing video, she's got a couple of good segments here. I didn't look into this part because I knew it was on the Village of Dalton's. You don't care. Let's just watch it.
As well as this board. It's regarding a situation with a resident that lived at 14802 Dearborn. The young lady contacted us. The house that she lives in is infested with termites, black mold. The children has gotten sick. And this house belongs to one of the trustees here in Dalton. I've had an opportunity to sit back and listen to this trustee talk about being here for the community. But when I get a call, and that's why I'm here, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna hold you accountable today. When I get a call and I have to come and deal with an issue where children are involved, it's a health issue, black mold, I got pictures, I got everything. The problem that I'm having, Mr. Mayor, is this trustee used her influence to get this house to pass inspection, and a dog shouldn't live in it.
Damn.
All right, so gotta bring the dog into it. All right, so this is the activist. And for those of you just joined the live stream, jumping in, this is the activist who basically got the house red tagged. Like nobody can occupy it. He's an activist. He's looking out for the welfare of the tenants. Here's Tiff sitting on the far side of the council chambers. This is 2019. Here is the former mayor. So this is before she was ever voted into public office. So again, I go with You know, if you see actions of somebody and it's not making sense and it doesn't, doesn't jive with what they're telling you as a political candidate, then, let the buyer beware, right? It's like going to Chicago and saying, hey, we need help with our crime here, and then voting in a progressive, like, let's go Brandon Johnson. What did you think was going to happen? So let's move on here. I got one more clip I want you to see here. So 7. And again, this is the activist dude kind of talking to the board. We'll go from right here.
They just want you out, period. You terrible.
I got a call. I'm investigating this thing. I've already spoken to my legal team. We are going to address it. And I think that this trustee is wrong. She has not, the kids done got sick, their clothes got mold on it, it's termites in the house, it's feces under the house.
Look at Tim.
This place is unlivable.
Look at Tim's face, y'all.
So that's all we're going to watch on that, because that's the information. So this activist really gets into, hey, things are not looking good. And he brings it up during a Dalton Village board meeting. You could see Tiff kind of sitting there going, oh. I'm sure she just wanted to shrink down into, the very tiniest she could be. I don't really want to be here. This isn't good. So, all right, here's that original article. Dalton woman says mold is growing out of control. August 21st, 2019. This has been ongoing. This kind of activity has been ongoing since she's been involved, and she has owned this home. We'll have to look and see. I think she bought this home in 2006. We'll look at the tax records. All right, so here's the beginning. Water leaks, politics, and then we kind of heard all of this in the video, so I'm not going to read it all to you. Smith has lived in the house since 2017 with her 2 children, and she noticed problems right away. She still has her 2017 text to Trustee Henyard. Kill the volume there. The 2017 text to Trustee Henyard telling her about the leaks and mold, to which Henyard respond by text. I've reached out multiple times. She's going to send somebody. Nobody comes. And then they just sprayed the oven spray. The oven spray. Let's talk about that for a moment. If any of you have ever cleaned an oven, I use oven cleaner on barbecue stuff. I got a big barbecue at home. I got a barbecue on my boat. One of my kids just brought a barbecue back. When you use that oven cleaner, that is some toxic stuff, right? You spray it on there and that kind of just slowly grows white. Man, if you breathe that stuff in, you're supposed to use a mask, right? I don't. You only live once, right? YOLO. So, now I usually do it outside, and so I can just walk away. Spraying that stuff inside of a house, oven spray, if that is truly what she did, you just took black mold and then just made it worse with some oven spray. Oven spray isn't really going to do mold any good. You got to kill that stuff with bleach, and then you got to keep going. Sounds like this house was pretty messy. And so what happened is, I believe, is Tiff bought this house, had it for a rental for many, many, many years. It progressively got worse. And then eventually, when this issue happened, she had already defaulted on the mortgage, right? And then it became a HUD foreclosure. And then it was purchased for like 50-something grand. And then most recently in 2023, it was purchased for $175, but I'll show you all that. But, and they just sprayed the oven spray. Shh. All right. Your mold's all done. It's all good. So they had roof leak. They had active mold. They had the main sewer line got disconnected. So you had, human feces going into the lower level, into the crawl space, I believe, because this is a 1.5-story home. It doesn't have a basement as far as I can tell. So, and then you had termites. Termites were thrown in there as well. I didn't really get into the termite issue, but you get the idea. And so when I was looking at this story, I'm like, okay, so what happened? And that's why I kind of did all the research on just looking at, all right, what's the timeline? What's the deal here? So bottom line is, Tiff just didn't maintain the home and eventually got some problems that were too big for her to be able to financially take care of. And she just bailed on the home, did a foreclosure. She bought it right before the Great Recession hit in 2006. And I think the home, she held on to it as long as she could. And she, kept taking those payments in, even though she wasn't making the mortgage. I don't know that for a fact, but putting the timeline together with the foreclosure notice, it kind of only makes sense, right? But then I felt like my back was against the wall because you are a trustee, she said. This is the tenant talking about the trustee. It's why the single mom, a domestic violence survivor whose rent is subsidized, this is Section 8 rental housing. So you've got inspections on Section 8. They're trying to take care of these tenants because the government, the taxpayers, are paying the rent. Kozlov briefly spoke with Henyard by phone. Henyard said that she wondered if Smith's claims might be political in the off-politically charged suburb. Again, and we have heard this time and time and time again with Tiffany Henyard, that, this is all a political ploy to get her out of office. People are hammering on me because I'm a woman and because I'm black. Well, the other residents, a lot of the residents I hear speaking at the council meetings, they're also black and they're also women. I think the women have gone after Tiff even harder than the men, right? They just don't hold back. They're like, you going to jail. That one, y'all going to jail. That one lady with the shirt that said that. Original story, that was the original video that we just watched. CBS 2 exposed serious problems. Since then, the renter has only gotten worse. The trustee is pocketing tens of thousands of dollars. They did the whole hotel room thing because it's not approved for occupancy. A big red sign that I cannot live there because it's unlivable. This is not a one-off story. This happens fairly often. And you know what? It sucks that it happens, but when people don't have the equity or have the cash on hand to be able to fix a big fixer, and it sounds like this one needed a new roof, it needed some major drywall. I think they basically tore everything apart. We'll look at the pictures here in a second. It got out of control for Tiff. She didn't have the money from from Dalton or Thornton, Township of Thornton, to be able to siphon off to fix this home, right? And doing that is really stepping into some illegitimate territory. So she milked this home for as long as she could, and then she ran for mayor, and everybody in the community knew it. This was a big story at the time. This was not, covered by, just the Lansing Herald, kind of local, that does a local perspective on stories. This was big media covering. This was CBS covering, right? It is mold that Smith's landlord, trustee Henyard, pledged to clean up immediately after we first reported on the problem in August. Smith said workers came and painted, and the house even passed an inspection, except issues weren't abated. It's horrible, Smith said. Enter activist David Lowry. That's who we just saw in the other YouTuber's video. And he called Dalton directly. So that was kind of my big question. All right, so Tiff said it was good. Her buddy at the city said it was good. The village said it was good, and it wasn't. And then mainly because this tenant got this David Lowry involved, and he's the activist, local activist. That's what got this just boom. So who did he reach? He reached out to the village of Dalton. Seems like they would have tried to, patch that up a little bit better and maybe actually do the repairs. And that is what leads me to believe that this home was wildly out of control. The scope of what it needed was just too big for Tiff to handle. And eventually that became the case. She gave it up in foreclosure. Somebody else bought it. They fixed it. They turned around. They sold it for $175K. And even though it sold for $175, the taxes are like they're like $5,800 a year. I mean, on $175, $5,800 a year, those are some big taxes. So that is what a lot of these citizens are talking about is, we're getting taxed here, and they are getting taxed pretty heavily on that type of under $200K. You're paying that much. You're getting taxed. Lowry's theory is the activist theory is that the trustee used her power and influence. Absolutely. That's why we're live streaming this. That is what happened. This is something that happened in the past. that is pointing to the future, because it went from small scale on one rental as a landlord, Tiff, to big scale. And my question is, what did you think was going to happen, Village of Dalton? I mean, right? Or did we just think this is a one-off for Tiff? Nah, she's gotten more and more power as she worked her way into becoming the mayor. And then she's also, trustee or supervisor of trustees at the township of Thornton. I mean, she's got a fair amount of power for this area, right? And so going back in time, yeah, this happened a while ago. Let's be super clear. This happened years ago, not that many years ago. But it's an indicator of what's going to happen in the future. So this is kind of a summary of the conversation that the CBS reporter had with Henyard's attorney. And, right off the bat, she doesn't want to talk. Tiff is like, oh, hey, my attorney's right here. She just happened to walk out of a meeting or walk into the building. I'm not sure what it was, with her attorney. Hey, you can just talk to my attorney. She's right here. That attorney did not look pleased that she was going to be, questioned on something that she hadn't prepared for. If you have any questions, talk to my attorney. Now, Tiff does a lot of that. Now, if Tiff wasn't hiding anything, she wouldn't have to talk to the attorney and the attorney wouldn't have to bill, right? But no, that's not what we're doing. It's not what we're doing. We're like, hey, not my problem. Not my problem. Talk to my attorney. That's what you do when you've got so many things going on and you're guilty, right? I mean, that's just what you do. You deflect. You get that issue off you. That's not on my back. There's no monkey on my back. There's no devil on my shoulder. I just deflected it again. So the inspection process is within the control of the village, not of the trustee, said Tiffany Henyard's attorney, Kelly Dudley. She basically just tried to place responsibility for this on anybody other than Tiff. Now we talk about the passing, then failing, then passing, and it's a Section 8, $36,866 in taxpayer dollars in Section 8 rent payments since 2017 when Smith moved in. So on Section 8, if they're not paying for all of it, which I'm guessing they may have been doing in this case, I don't know, depending on the work situation of the tenant who qualifies for the Section 8, they may chip in a few $100, maybe it's $100 a month, something like that. So oftentimes they are contributing, sometimes not. They're contributing, but this doesn't count as all the rent, right? Just doesn't. So this house just continued to go downhill. Taxpayers paid for the rent. Tiff didn't pay the landlord because it foreclosure. All right, let's move on. Here's Google images from 2000 and 2022. It doesn't look bad there. Looks okay there. Here it is fixed up. Now, they did a pretty good job. I'm saying this is all drywall. They basically gutted this home because it was that big of a project. It needed to be redone. This was not a paint, trim, molding. Hey, I think we can use those kitchen appliances. This was a complete redo of the entire home. And I don't think Tiffany Henyard had the resources or wanted to deal with this project. So she basically just let it go to foreclosure. And we'll look at that in a second here. Nice kitchen. I mean, this is a nice looking house now. I think it's valued at somewhere low 200s, maybe 210, something like that. Even though it was purchased not too long ago for $175. And the $175, they brought it down price wise. Yeah, here's your last sold price. They brought it down from, I think they started off at $180, something like that. So you get the picture. I mean, it's not a bad home. This was upstairs where she was kind of showing the roof. It's not a bad home, and it turned out really well. But during the time of that tenant, it was not good. So I took the address and I ran it through Cook County Assessor's Office. I didn't come up with a ton, but then I went to access more in-depth property details here. And this is where you kind of run into this. And where did my... Search by address. Where is my... All right. You guys are going to make me work. No, where is my deal? Okay, more in-depth property. Okay, here it is. Here it is. And then we go down to sales. All right. So you got to go through just a bunch of nonsense. But I'm a former appraiser, right? I'm still currently an appraiser, but that was what I used to do on top of being a managing broker, which I still do. So looking through this stuff is something in my background that I've done a ton of. And what we're looking at okay, let's go back to this one. Here is the most recent sale. And you know what? I am going to pop this up. I'm going to full screen this for you and talk you through this. All right. So here's the purchase, 175/4/2023. So just a year ago, after they'd done all that remodeling. Now, the sale that we want to know about is right here. This is the transfer, November 23, 2021. This is the transfer that I believe Tiffany Henyard bought it from HUD for $108,000 in 10/1/2006. And then this is, so right before the Great Recession and the big crash, probably overpaid for it. Who knows? I don't have any information on that sale. Maybe it was market value. But given what the market did everywhere else, I would say she paid, probably paid top dollar for it. And then it went down. And then it's gone up significantly. But then given the condition, 11/23/2021, you had a transfer, some kind of transfer. And see how all this is blank? Grantor, grantee, document number, all that's blank. I'm pretty sure that's the foreclosure transfer. So Tiff gave up the home for $53,255, that $53,000 in a foreclosure sale. And then whomever bought it, the David Oten Sr., he turned around and put who knows how much money he put into that. It's hard to say to get that thing turned around, but he put a bunch of money into that. And so he made some money, but took pretty good size risk, because when you're tearing out drywall and, oh, hey, there's some more mold. Oh, hey, yeah, going to need to replace that framing member. Okay. Oh, here's an electrical. I think they ripped everything out. I think they took it down to the studs and started over. That's what it looks like to me. But this transfer right here, I believe, is one of those deals where you can basically get, that transaction kind of whited out as far as public records go. But if you do the deep dive, if you took, hey, this transaction happened here, into the assessor's office of Cook County, you could probably get some more information. And it would show a transfer. The grantor would be Tiffany Henyard, and the grantee would be probably HUD. Probably HUD took it back, and then HUD sold it to David Oten Sr., and then he rehabbed it and redid it. And it's called, this home was marketed as the Diamond of Dolton, because it was so nice. Just so nice. Crazy how this goes, right? Okay. What else do we have? So that's kind of the big story in, what has happened. And to me, it's like, well, what did you think was going to happen when you elected her mayor of the entire, city, of the entire community? You knew that she had a history of shenanigans. This was on the news as a trustee. It's not like this happened way before. It's not like this happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This has been happening, and she's a slumlord. She's a slumlord. And I'm not justifying it, but, when you get into a home like this and it's got problems, you got to fix that roof. You got a sewer leak. You got to fix that. Otherwise, poop and pee, everything else, just tends to, end up in your crawl space of your basement, and that's not good. So you got to spend some pretty significant money to get ahead of these problems, or be able to do it yourself. And it doesn't sound like Tiff ever kind of went down that road. She had her attorney basically state, Tiff is relying upon a contractor to do all this work. So, it's not Tiff's problem. But, this is a life experience that happens. Yes, but how you handle it is kind of indicative of how you're going to handle other issues. And what I would say in this one is that the issues are that Tiff doesn't really, Tiffany Henyard, she doesn't take care of business the way that she should. Just doesn't happen. So yeah, we're going to watch one more video. We've got one more, and this is a new one. This is a new one that we're going to get into here. This is a new storyline. We've got a possible another Tiff experience going on. Worse than Tiffany Henyard, another South suburban mayor takes heat from residents. Do we have Tiff 2.0? We do, but it's a dude and the guy's an attorney. That could be interesting. Let's watch this one. Sorry.
It involves the community protesting against their mayor.
Our Nate Rogers picks up the story from here in Harvey.
There are many issues here in Harvey that residents have brought to our attention. Residents marched from a nearby church right here to the municipal center before tonight's meeting. Several police officers were on hand, some residents calling that an intimidation tactic.
We're just seeking the transparency, participatory governance. We have several questions about the bills list, and if we know what's going on in adjacent communities, we certainly don't want to model those types of things.
Tension in suburban Harvey continues to grow. Residents taking their...
Stop holding the licenses is what they were chanting, number one. That is very similar to what you've got going on in Dalton. And this is Harvey. Harvey is to the south and west, just a little bit. It's basically adjacent to Dalton. So, and then leave the churches alone was the second one. Leave the churches alone. What they've done is they're making the churches get a business license so they can tax the churches as if they're a business. They're a nonprofit. I mean, this is some crazy stuff.
Fight to the street in a peaceful protest.
Where are the licenses?
Finally, outside Harvey's municipal center, residents holding signs. One of them saying, quote, Mayor Clark is worse than Tiffany Henyard. Another one, quote, stop harassing vendors. Business owners saying their licenses are being held up. Residents complaining of a 3% water hike. Pastors outraged after Harvey churches are now required to obtain a business license or their doors threaten to be closed. At least 2 city council members and a packed room of concerned residents are calling for transparency on how village dollars are being spent. The mayor's critics are also asking that his administration...
Acceptable. You have been elected to serve. You should serve with integrity, not pushing the agenda of the mayor, not pushing the agenda of what he has asked you to do in his office, but I'm expecting people to do what they have been elected to do. And when you get aside from that, then you need to be removed.
But why are you intimidating somebody with a business? How can this happen when we got more policemen here than I've ever seen in a year? Who's paying for all of this? Who's paying for all of this stuff we got going?
Does that sound vaguely familiar? I mean, you could interchange these council meetings, right? Just take these people from Dalton and we'll put them in Harvey and Dalton. And you know what? Same issues, same exact issues.
Somebody, we just asked for transparency. You're an attorney, you know better.
Now, city council members tell us more than 70 businesses and over 100 churches are impacted by Mayor Chris Clark's latest mandates. We asked to speak to Mayor Clark. I even gave my business card to his chief of staff. We were told no, that he is not available. And as always, here in Harvey, Nate Rogers, Fox 32 Chicago.
Did you know that by giving to our...
Is the mayor of Harvey, is he taking lessons? Is he taking mayor lessons from Tiff? Kind of sounds like it, right? No, they're all just running the same racket. They're running as, trying to squeeze as many tax dollars out of their individual taxpayers as they humanly can, and they don't really care how they do it. Yeah, here's all right. So let me get this back up for you here. Here's Harvey. Here's Dalton. They're basically, they're right on top of each other. Yeah, so it is not shocking. They're in the South Holland area. This is not shocking. This is another story I will be covering because the Tiff one's got legs. You got the FBI involved. With the Harvey story, okay, he's kind of going a little bit overreach there. Business licenses for churches, that'd be a hard no-go. But it doesn't sound like there's the misappropriation of funds yet. But that's another story that that we're going to have to keep an eye on and take a little peek-see and see what the deal is. So getting back to TIF, what's going on there? Well, now you've got Lori Lightfoot doing her investigation. She's been doing that investigation all along. You've got the FBI. They're doing their probe. They're just probing in there, just trying to figure out what they've got. They've been doing that since November. So, that could take a year or a couple of years before they work something out. TIF is up for re-election in 2025. So, she's got time. The village Dalton has already done a recall, but they screwed the recall up and it was deemed to be illegal. They just had something in there, the way they filed the paperwork, that wasn't correct. So you're kind of in this time period where it's business as usual for TIF because she is waiting for something from the probe to come down from the FBI or from Lori Lightfoot. But the problem with Lori Lightfoot is that she can't really do anything about it. She can bring all these issues up that she came up with to the village of Dalton, plop them in the village of Dalton's lap and say, here you go, this is what's going on. And then the village of Dalton, it's not like they can, bring in local police and say, hey guys, we need to really get after this corruption, because they're basically in on it. They are Mayor Tiffany Henyard's henchmen. We've seen that in countless, village meetings where they just, throw people out of the room. Just, you got to go. Or they threaten people. Or like this Harvey meeting that we saw, and the one individual is like, that's more cops than I've seen. I don't know when. You guys aren't out in the streets making sure the streets are safe. Meanwhile, these communities are having shootings. They've got issues going on. There's crime happening. This is Chicago. This is the southern suburbs of Chicago. This is where a lot of those stats come from, right? Come from all over. But, even Village of Dalton had a shooting not that long ago. It's not uncommon to have that happen, right? So in the meantime, it's kind of business as usual. But for the residents, they're just waiting because they don't know, what bills are going to get paid, what civic services are going to get shut down. Is the pool open? Is it closed? What about the roller rink? What about the skating rink? We don't really know. Are we going to trim some trees? Are we going to take the trees all the way down? Are we going to have garbage service? Don't really know. Are the police cars, are those going to get repossessed? Because the bank's already sent a letter stating, hey, you haven't been making payments. You got to make that May payment. And if you don't make that payment, we're coming to get your cars. So either make the payment or get ready for your police cars. Could you imagine that? I mean, that would be some footage right there. Officer Smith, I'm going to have to have you get out of the car. Why? I got to repo your car. I mean, could you imagine you're a cop? All right. So can you give me a ride back to the station? I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, how would that go? I mean, you've got that multiplied by dozens of times because it takes that many vendors and contractors to run a city. And if the bills aren't being paid, these contractors tend to say, no, thank you. It's like the law firm basically stating, hey, we're not providing you any more legal service to the village of Dalton or because you owe us $1 million. And so all these bills are probably going unpaid right now because the village of Dalton is bankrupt. And you've got the township of Thornton paying some of these bills, allegedly. So that's kind of where you sit right now. We're just waiting for some things to happen. But in the meantime, you're going to see some board meetings that are going to be there's going to be some pretty big fireworks because none of this stuff has gone away. It just hasn't gone anywhere, right? You've got TIF just going to head with the village constituents, and the constituents are saying, hey, you're using the cops against us. You could see that in that last meeting. That was weird. Like, kicking people out of their own building and having people in the building sitting down at areas where the constituents aren't allowed to be in, and yet you got some outside people in there. I mean, you've got some real you got some thuggery going on. You've got shenanigans. You've got shenanigans happening 24/7. And you know what the real question is? Why wouldn't you? Tiffany Henyard's been doing this for years. She's been doing this for years. And I bet if you dug deeper into a lot of those alleged violations, the health code stuff, it'd be the same stuff. She never fixed anything. She just put a rubber band on or a Band-Aid on it, put a rubber band around it. I don't know what you say there. But she milked it along. She milked it along. And now she's milking the city along. So, yeah, that's kind of where we sit. All right, I'm going to wrap up this live stream, and I'll see what you guys are talking about on the live chat. But thanks so much. If you haven't subscribed already, love to have you subscribe. I'm covering this topic 10 ways from Tuesday, including our new guy in Harvey. I'll be looking out for stories on that. If you see a story like this, send it to me. There's always an email somewhere in YouTube land. All right, that's it for me. Thanks so much, and I will catch up with you on the next one. All right, let's see what you guys are talking about. 10% for the big guy. 100% agreed. Do we think, live stream people, do we think that President Biden took a poop in his pants? Did he do that? I know there's a big, it's got that look. And I know people have the stance. They kind of go like this. You know, are they just making fun of him, or did he actually do that? Did he actually soil himself on the, what was it? It was the day of the Normandy invasion. My office manager called me. I called her on her birthday, which was Friday, which was D-Day, the day of the invasion. And when she was born on D-Day. When she was born, the doctor came into the delivery room where she was being born and said, our boys have landed, and to her mom. And her mom remembers that. That was pretty wild. So a lot of history, but the history being made now is that President Biden is pooping his pants on TV. Is that real? And apparently it's the third time. I don't know. Somebody said, I thought Tiffany stole your bandwidth. No, that was just a middle-aged 55-year-old YouTuber wannabe that couldn't get the buttons right. And no, but I did get it going. I resurrected the feed, got her up and running, and here we are, right? Glitch still? Nope. Yep. All right. Tiffany Henyard needs to be stopped. Yeah, seriously, right? She should be able to occupy 2 political offices. I totally agree with that. Henyard pledged, fix it. Right? What are you thinking? I mean, when she doesn't fix stuff on the large scale level of the entire city of Dalton, then she's not going to fix anything. Tiffany Leach Henyard needs to be under the prison. Yeah, it needs to be. A lot of people are saying, hey, is Tiff's stylist that she's making those $1,500 payments to, is the stylist going to set Tiff up in, a nice orange jumpsuit? Is it going to be nicely tailored and just have all that stuff going on? We're going to do that. We're going to, as she goes into prison, is she going to have makeup and final hair thing done? I don't know. Those are things that I have way worse words for this. There's a lot of words that are worse for what's going on. How did a car thief with a rap sheet get to have all this money and power to begin with? I don't think, Elle Spindle, I don't think she has a ton of money, but I think she was able to weasel her way into office. How's that? She was able to get her way into office. So, yeah, so there's that. Dalton equals flip the bill. Justice has been blinded. I live in Illinois, close by Dalton. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be, for residents of these areas, it's got to be incredibly frustrating to have this happen. But this has been going on for forever, right? Forever. But now you've got the media involved. Now you've got guys like me going, hey, that's a pretty interesting story. Let's take a little peek see. And you can see how much of a deep dive we can do with just tax records, right? And I'm just going off of links from the assessor. I was in the assessor's website there doing a bunch of stuff, looking for stuff. And it reminded me of how Tiffany Henyard, she locked the assessor of Dalton out of her office. Yeah, locked the assessor out and then locked a bunch of other people in the assessor's department out. I mean, it's like, okay, I mean, we've known this stuff is going on. What did you think would happen? So if you want somebody to run your office, you know, look at their background and go, okay, all right, does this make sense? Or no, it doesn't make sense. For me, with Tiff, she's got a history, doesn't she? Car thief, this whole thing with the rental property and, you know, foreclosure and not doing what she's supposed to do, and mold and all that stuff for that poor tenant. Is this, you know, shocking? No, it's not. But residents of Dalton still elected her as mayor. So there's some accountability happening there that just hasn't happened, right? Let's keep going here. This is why I don't understand how Tiff conned the elderly to vote for her. You know what? 100% agreed. I don't know either. Yeah. All right. And that's the question, right? She's a good talker. She spins well. So whatever. All right. That's it for me. Thanks again. And nice chatting with you guys. Go on about your day. I'm gonna record some more material. How about that? Got some good stuff coming your way. Thanks again, and I will catch up with you soon. Bye for now. Live stream on today's Tuesday. We'll be doing another one on Thursday. Hope to see you then. Bye for now.